I was watching the news from afar. You do need to take a break from it, but it was hard to ignore it completely because this lame duck Congress just kept going and going. I don't know about you, but never before in my lifetime have I seen such an illegitimate governmental operation. Here you have members of Congress, some of whom are retiring voluntarily, most of whom were defeated by the voters, who are in a frenzy, trying to pass legislation that they know the people back home don't want. But what was more disgusting than watching liberal statist Democrats do what they do, which is abuse power, was watching the usual 10, 12 Republicans sell out time and time and time again. That START treaty, here's what you need to know. It weakens our national defense system that Reagan sought to put in place. That's the bottom line. Now, who would vote for that? Well, we have all these letters and all these. That's not a part of a treaty. A letter. This is basic stuff. But the media reports that, oh, Obama got a victory. Why? Because 10 or 12 Republicans crossed the line? Obama got a victory? How about the American people? Was that a victory for us? No, it wasn't. Unless you want to be vulnerable to nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles one day from North Korea and Iran. Wow, what a victory. Obama got that START treaty, though. Don't ask, don't tell. Two branches of the military service openly opposed, but our civilian Congress passes it in the lame duck session because they can't get it passed in the new Congress. Wow, what an achievement. Joe Lieberman, congratulations. I don't know if you've ever served, but good job. They'll build a monument to you as a great civil rights leader. Isn't the goal to make sure the military can defend us under all circumstances? And if two of the branches, the Marines and the Air Force, have some questions about this policy, not because they want to discriminate or harm people, but because they have some questions about how it's going to work properly or whether it can work, isn't that something we ought to at least think about? No! We can't do that. Oh, and they pushed other crap, too. And then I look at Politics Daily today. Obama, who's spending the holidays in Hawaii. Doesn't the holiday end after New Year's? I'm just asking. Said he's willing to work with anyone of either party who's got a good idea and the commitment to see it through. And we should all expect you to hold us accountable for our progress or our failure to deliver. He promised to do everything I can to make sure our economy is growing, creating jobs, strengthening our middle class. That's my resolution for the coming year, unquote. What do you do, break open a fortune cookie and read that? This is pablum. Pablum. Did you miss me? I mean, I could sit here and talk about the spaghetti and meatball meal I had 2 nights ago. It was very good. Or 1,000 other things to pretend that you really care about it, but I won't. We're marching forward here because the new Congress comes on Wednesday. Now, here's the point. Obama wants to define success for his 2012 election purposes as working with him, as embracing major parts of his agenda, as accepting most of what he has instituted the last 2 years. And as the election heats up, and it will, he will claim credit for anything positive that occurs in the economy, which will occur in spite of his disastrous policies, and he will assign blame for anything negative on those very conservatives and Republicans who he claims to want to work with. Or he'll attack the same industry that he always attacks. It's never him. But here's the more important point. Anything Obama's opposition does to restore constitutional government, individual liberty, and government accountability will be called a distraction, a provocation, right-wing extremism, Tea Party craziness. The new members of Congress who will be sworn in 2 days must not get sucked into this establishment mindset and system. They can make great strides towards restoring this republic. Even if they lose the battles are worth fighting because they won't lose all of them. They will be educating the American people, and their ranks will grow. Obama, the media, and the other statists are trying to divert them from what they can do. Obama says, I'm willing to work with any one of you. Stop right there. We're not willing to work with you. No, we don't want to work with you. You'll disparage us and you'll demean us along the way, but we don't want to work with you. You're the problem. The old Congress did great damage on the way out of town. The usual dozen or so weak republics who have no principles and no scruples, but are praised by the liberals for their so-called independence. They couldn't wait to break with conservatives and hand the statists victory after victory. By the way, as an aside, imagine working with these kind of egocentric collaborators in business, the workplace, the military, or any other walk of life other than politics. You wouldn't want anything to do with people like this. They're unethical and worse. But in politics in Washington, they're mavericks. They're wise. But they're not to us. They're none of those things. We know who they are. And if any of them seek re-election, we will not forget them. The task of the new Congress must be to stop Obama in his tracks, to stop his administration, to contain them, to reverse what they've done, to defeat the executive branch and those in Congress who support them. That's the job. This is not a game. This is our country, our republic. It's our home. Obama and his administration don't seek real compromise. They seek transformation, destruction, and control. They're already using regulations and executive orders to cripple the society. Nothing free can remain free with an executive branch like this. There's no limit to who and what has to be controlled and coerced. But let me ask this question. Exactly what should we compromise on? What part of the Constitution should we agree to ignore? Which principle should we surrender? Which unalienable right should we reject voluntarily? Or let me ask this question. To what end do we, the people, seek to govern? What is it that we want? A few crumbs from the federal bureaucracy? A pat on the head from some politician? What is it that we want from our government? We don't want this. They're driving up the cost of gasoline purposely. They're driving up the cost of health care purposely. They've all but destroyed the housing market purposely. They're driving up the cost of food with this ethanol and other nonsense purposely. Who's governing whom around here? Who's governing whom? These centralized authoritarian societies create poverty. They create misery. That's what they distribute and redistribute. No, we must block where we can block and score where we can score. If there is to be compromise, let Obama and his administration seek compromise on our terms. Let them compromise their principles. I don't expect it. Why do people expect it from us? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.